And now let's talk about some geopolitical games. China wants a foothold in West Asia, and it has found a new way to win friends and influence the region. That new way is defense deals. China has been quietly making inroads. In the last decade, Chinese arms to West Asia, arms sales, have jumped by 80%, 80. America has taken note. It is the biggest supplier of weapons to this region, and it seems to be feeling threatened. So Washington is making overtures. US officials have spoken to their counterparts in West Asia, and they have a simple message for them. Do not buy Chinese weapons. Why? Because they will not work with American hardware. You won't be able to integrate them. So it's better to stick with made in America. That's their argument. But you see, these are technicalities. They often do not influence political decisions, and arms deals at the end of the day are political. Also, Chinese weapons have another draw: lower cost and better deals. Beijing is offering better deals and no lectures on human rights. It certainly helps. The US realizes this. Earlier this year, an American general spoke to lawmakers in his country. His name is General Michael Kurilla. He heads the US Central Command. In his testimony, he described how China's approach is different. Let me read out a quote from what he said. They open up their entire catalog. They give them express shipping. They give them no end-user agreement, and they give them financing. Basically, there are no strings attached when you do deals with China. That's what the general is trying to say. For decades, Gulf states have been major buyers of American weapons, but now they're drawn towards Chinese gear because the process is easier. They don't need to convince Washington. They don't have to wait for approvals from the US Congress. They don't have to suffer lectures on human rights while also paying big money. They can deploy Chinese weapons wherever they like. They can use them however they want to. No preconditions, no rules to follow, plus the delivery is quick and the financing is flexible. So it's no wonder that China is winning more deals. They got their first opening in the 2010s. Saudi Arabia and the UAE wanted armed drones. America was reluctant to give them, so China swooped in. They sold the drones to these West Asian powers. It was their USP. Light and low-cost combat weapon systems. That's what China sold. From 2010 to 2018, China sold weapons worth $760 million to the region, to West Asia. $760 million. How does that stack up against other players? In the same time period, 2010 to 2018, Russia sold weapons worth $8.6 billion. That's 11 times more than China. What about the US? $35.2 billion worth of exports, 46 times as much as China. So the US is miles ahead of others. And going by these numbers, they have no reason to be worried. And yet they are, because China is expanding its footprint. They got their foot in the door with low-end weapons, and now they have a solid foundation in the region. They're going after the bigger deals. Look at this report from the month of May. China was negotiating with Saudi Arabia and Egypt. What do they want to buy? More sophisticated weapons like air defense systems, fighter jets, suicide drones. That's the kind of stuff America would hesitate in sharing with West Asian powers, but China has no such limitations. The value of their deals is going up. Look at Saudi Arabia, for example. They bought a lot of weapons from China last year. The Chinese media reported about it. They said Riyadh is buying armed drones, hypersonic anti-ship missiles, and counter-drone platforms. What was the value of this deal? $4 billion. That's much more than the $1 million deals that China closed 5 years ago. But again, these are claims from Chinese mouthpieces, so take them with a pinch of salt. Having said that, there is no question about the appeal of Chinese weapons in West Asia. Beijing is not just selling arms, it is also offering collaboration. In the month of March this year, Riyadh and Beijing signed an agreement, a joint venture to make UAVs, unmanned aerial vehicles, UAVs. China's third largest state-run firm was involved. They'll help make UAVs in Saudi Arabia. And the US is worried about all of this, about interoperability, for instance. But if the present trend continues, they won't have much of a choice. West Asia is taking to Chinese arms. And while the Americans are far ahead right now, Beijing is catching up fast.